Good morning, welcome to the channel. This is Roger Thunder, or Roger Thunderhands is my pen name. Got four books out. One award-winning book. I'm going to talk about the Lakota God today. I kind of gravitate towards the Lakota tradition. And I also, because it's one that covers basically a lot of tribal beliefs and myths and, let's say, conceptions of God and that type of thing. And then I also know a lot about the Apache people because I grew up around Phoenix, Arizona and Scottsdale, Arizona. My roots are from the Northeast, the Anishinaabe people, specifically Métis, which is a combination of French and Indian. My grandmother was full-blooded, my great-grandmother, was full-blooded Native, and my great-great-grandfather was a French trapper, so there you have it. Those are my roots. But when I moved to Arizona at the young age of 6, where I was raised, I gravitated towards whatever tribal tradition was around me at the time, or ones that I could read about easily. Not that I haven't gotten into my own ancestral roots, I have. So what I'm going to talk about today is Wakan Tanka. Wakan Tanka, that can be pronounced Wakan Tanka real quick, 2 words together, Wakan Tanka, or 2 words, Wakan Tanka. See, the thing about native dialects is that there's, like say in the Lakota, you could have 2 or 3 or possibly 4 or 5 different ways of saying things. For instance, the other word for the divinity of the Lakota people, or the God, I use the term God loosely because it's not really a God in the sense of the Christian tradition. But Wakan Tanka actually means the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Mystery, or the Great Spirit, or, as Tom Brown Jr. would say, the Spirit that moves in all things. That's the concept of the Lakota God, is a spirit that moves in all things, permeates all things, connects all things, is all things. So, that actually fits the definition of Taoism, or the Tao, T-A-O, which also has that similar concept of the way, or the unknown, or the holy mystery, or the thing that can't be described in terms of, like if you're thinking in terms of a person or a personality. So Wakan Tanka is the spirit that permeates everything and is everything. In other words, if you look at nature, this is the beautiful thing about tribal tradition, is that if you look at nature, that's God, basically. Or if you look at everything, that's God, or that is the great mystery, or that is Wakan Tanka. The trees, the animals, the 2-leggeds, the 4-leggeds, the winged creatures, the ground creatures, the sea creatures, all of nature, all trees, all vegetation, all herbs, all water, earth, all of that good stuff is Wakan Tanka. It encompasses everything. So if you really want to look at it from the aspect of like standing in awareness, all right, which is basically what that amounts to, is realizing that everything around you is made up of the Godhead or the Immaculate Consciousness or the Creator. And so you have the Creator and you have the Creatress, all right? The Creator is the masculine aspect, and that would be called grandfather. That would be called grandfather. And then you also have the feminine aspect, which is evident in life in general and everything. It's a combination of both. So you have grandmother, which in Lakota is called Unsi Maka, or Maka, meaning earth. And the other designation, Tunkashila, or it can be pronounced Tunkashila, depending again on the dialect, or just what was passed down to you. That would be ancestral spirits, okay, in the Lakota tradition. In other words, the spirit of your ancestors, but it would also take on the double meaning of grandfather's breath, okay? So that would be kind of like an activating force, or like a Holy Spirit, or like a word, or something that put everything in motion, all right? So you have the feminine and masculine aspects, and then you have the spirits of the four directions. And in Lakota, these are Sapa, which means black for the west. And that's where the Wakanyan and the Thunder Beings reside. And it also could portray a meditative state of mind, or a very spiritual state of mind. And it is associated with the Thunderbirds and the Thunder Beings, and so that would translate, if you're looking at somebody in history, if you wanted to know what that whole concept was, actually Crazy Horse Tsumke Witko, who was a very holy person, as well as a leader and warrior. He was a thunder dreamer, or a Heyoka. And Heyoka means sacred clown in Lakota, or somebody that does things, is kind of like a black sheep, a contrary man, somebody that does things that are unexpected and people can't figure out. So the west, the spirit direction of the west is Sapa, and then you have Luta, which means red, in the north. And that is sometimes represented by a spirit called Wazi, or the old man of the north. And then you have in the east, you have Ki, which is yellow and indicates the rising sun. And then in the south, you have Ogagaska, which means white, and is also the entrance to the spirit world, the other side, walking through a dimension type thing. So that, there you have it. You have the spirit of the four directions. Now when you pray with the sacred pipe, which is the Chanupa or Kanupa, again, pronunciation by different dialects, or just the way people talk, okay? But if you're listening to me, you can be sure that it is correct. I may say it in different ways at different times, with different emphasis on dialect, all right? But again, you know, we're talking about the Lakota God, but I'm going to contrast that. See, I always go all different kinds of places in my videos. I am a wisdom keeper, all right? And so that means nothing more than having a lot of wisdom from life. Through age is one way, through knowledge is another, through spiritual practices is another. So you're not going to find anybody out there on YouTube or anywhere that is really speaking like I speak. And I'll tell you why. If you go, let's say you want to research Lakota medicine men, and you type that in, or medicine men, or whatever, in YouTube, and you will come up with videos. You will come up with Avril looking horse and different people in the Lakota tradition. You can find old. They're about 8 years old, or they're about 7, or you might find some that are 2 years old. But the Lakota, let's say, official medicine man or recognized medicine men are few and far between, and some of them don't even speak, which is a mistake, in my opinion, because it's so needed in the world today. They're still involved in ritual and the initiation rites and stuff like that, but some aren't. Some just come right out and talk, and because they know it's for the good of mankind. That's my purpose. That's why I come on here, is just to spread knowledge and link it up with other things in the world. I could sit here and I could do a 3-hour video easily, but it would take me 6 days to upload it. So I try to keep it down to a minimum. Let's contrast Lakota, the Lakota Wakan Tanka God, with, let's say, the concept of Christianity, or the Jesus God. If you look at the history of these two belief systems, it's going to blow your mind, really, because you start getting into the history. Just go on, I mean, you know, if you really want a history, go on the Encyclopedia Britannica or whatever on Google and look up Christianity and read that. And that's just a mainstream view, but even that is, if it's written by scholars, biblical scholars, it's okay in a sense. But if you look at the origins of Christianity and where it developed from, it is the most confusing, chaotic mess that you will ever imagine, okay? Because there was so much division and chaos and confusion and arguments and killing and murder and inquisitions and burnings of people, and I mean, it's just incredible. It's incredible, and all the different offshoots from the original concept. And I've studied this stuff in depth, okay? The Jesus that walked the earth, and the belief, which is hard to find historically. Not a whole lot of facts there about it. But the Jesus that walked the earth, and the belief system that was formed, or the religions that were formed, or the followings that were formed around this particular person, were in the original version, if you go back to the roots of it, you find the birth of it, you run into all kinds of problems. And why am I talking about this? Because I'm going to compare the simplicity of Wakan Tanka with the complete complicity of the origins of Christianity and the confusion surrounding it. So the original essence, and we're talking about what is the essence? What is the essence of Christianity? Or Christ, or Jesus the Christ? What is the essence of that? Let's try to pin that down, because that has been something that has been argued about and caused all kinds of divisions and all kinds of offshoots of like Catholicism and Protestants and Adventists and Baptists and Quakers and this particular Reformation move, and arguments in the councils of the early church fathers as to what was right, what was wrong, and what concept should be right and what concept should be wrong. And it just goes on and on and on. But if you really get back to the original essence, there was a term called logos that was used. I think that's a Greek term, the logos. And that the logos was defined as the essence of God, basically, or actually even above God. The essence, all right, logos. And the logos is, it can also be translated or connected to a concept of the Word. The Word, and the Word put everything into being. Well, in Hindu philosophy, the word is Om, and that's a sound, and it put everything into motion. Sometimes you could call me a double Indian, because I know as much about the Eastern Indians as I do the Western North American tradition, and I find that the two have a whole lot in common, okay, which is just amazing, really. The two have a whole lot in common, as does Taoism, which makes you wonder where these people came from in North America, and if indeed that the connection is just universal on a tribal level. So, when you compare Christianity and the origins and you get back to the essence, that essence was the big argument, because Christianity was to be, and Judaism was to be, a monotheism, or a one God, as opposed to a polytheism, or several gods. And that one God was just that one God, Yahweh, and later became Yahweh. See, that went through all kinds of transitions too. But in order for Jesus, okay, the Jesus which came later, the Jesus God, or Jesus as God, in order to fit in with their original conception of monotheism, or one God, the big argument was, how can they square this if they're calling Jesus God and there is another God, or he's the Son of God, or he is God? How do we square this? Because we're a monotheistic, just believing in one God. So how can we have two gods? And so that's where the big arguments came in, and dissension and offshoots and split-offs and all kinds of stuff like that came myriads, and then and with that, okay, so you had ideology that is surrounding all these different, what shall we say, Christian offshoots or aspects or whatever. You had all kinds of different ideologies form off of these different splinter groups, let's call them. If you go back to early Christianity, you're going to find out that there were all kinds of people that called themselves Christians that had diametrically opposed beliefs as to the Godhead and who God was. And you have the Gnostics, and then you have the, the Jesus, the Christ movement, which was more Jewish. And oh man, I mean, it gets mind-boggling. It gets mind-boggling if you do research on this. And see, that's another thing that I'll point out about myself as far as, let's say, a modern-day wisdom keeper in the native tradition, as opposed to a wisdom keeper that just sticks with the original narrative, let's say. It just talks about the spirituality, which is great. It's beautiful. But today, the Lakota people and other tribes need somebody that can be listened to and believed truthfully, and have wisdom disseminated not only to them, but to all of mankind, all tribes, all races, with a truthful, accurate view in, let's say, the original essence of the Lakota tradition, or the tribal or the indigenous tradition. That's where I'm coming from, all right? And so I do comparison studies like with Christianity, because I talk about ideologies, and I talk about the white man, meaning not so much the color of the skin, if at all the color of the skin, as to an ideology that surrounded the European man that came over here and subjugated and committed genocide on the natives of this land and other lands, other indigenous people. So you have to discern where these ideologies, or these, let's say, incursions, how they affected the indigenous people, where they came from, how they infected, okay, as well. Because the people, my brothers and sisters on the res, and let's say the more modern day Indian, has been horribly manipulated, just as always, only it's just continued on, and they have bought into different religious belief systems other than their original Lakota. When they've mixed stuff in, they mix the two together. You can't really mix the two together. It's better to stick with the ancestral way in any indigenous belief, the Hopi belief, the Apaches, the Diné, the all tribes, okay, that are worth their salt, and they're all worth their salt. They are the salt of the earth. They have to be careful, because they have been so permeated by this ideology, or the white man's ideology, that they have gone astray, or don't even realize what the real roots are, or what the real wisdom is. I'm not saying all. There's quite a few that do, that hold, and it's always been a split because of the ideology and be interference by, let's say, the feds and people like that permeating into the tribal culture and twisting it, and also the religious element permeating into the tribal culture, the do-gooders. We're going to do you good. We're going to bring let's say a hospital or a school, and right out in front of the hospital or school will be a big giant cross, and the religious aspect, the Christian aspect. But we're going to do good for you, and a lot of times they actually do good things as far as supplying in this day and age, but it's a tax write-off for them, and it's sometimes a very insidious way of infiltrating the res and the people on the res. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is that you have to hold to the original concept of Wakan Tanka, not the white man's God, not the Jesus Christ, not the Christianity. And even people in America as a whole, since you're all on the res right now, so to speak, and experiencing a lot of the same things that the indigenous of this land experienced, it would behoove you to hold to that concept too. Now, there's the comparison I sort of tried to draw a comparison there, give you a lot of information. So like I said, my videos are complex and they throw a lot of information at you all at once. And it's up to you to whether you want to listen to the video and take in all the information or wisdom that I can disseminate, and how it's correlated to your life as a whole, and how it's correlated to the life on the planet, in this world, in this society, in this system of things. So, the Lakota Wakan Tanka, that whole concept of just, how easy is that? Do you need a Bible? Do you need preachers? Do you need religious figures? Do you need churches? Do you need sacraments of the Christian church? Do you need any of that stuff? No, you don't. That stuff is all bypassed. That's all. When you look at the two belief systems, when you look at Wakan Tanka, the great mystery, or the spirit that moves in all things, it's you, basically, is what it amounts to. It's like, so if the spirit moves in all things, and it's all animals and all plants and all things, it's you as well. Okay, so you are Wakan Tanka, in a sense, because you are encompassed in the all of this permeating, beautiful energy that created the planet and manifests itself in 1,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 different ways. It's like a big soup. Okay, and that's where you also get into the Eastern thought. Eastern thought, pure meditative Eastern thought, and Taoism and Hinduism, certain aspects like Shaivism, which is the Shiva concept, the Shiva and Shakti concept, are very closely related. There's sacraments and symbols, okay, that are associated in Hindu with the male and female aspect, the yoni and the lingam. And then in the Lakota tradition, you have the sacred pipe, which is the the bowl would be the yoni, or the feminine aspect, and the stem would be the masculine, or the lingam. And you always have that recognition that Wakan Tanka is both the feminine and masculine aspects of the universe. I call it the divine copulation of the universe, or the divine sex of the universe. No, that's not far out, because that's what it is. It's a procreative process between the yin and the yang energies. And it's a creative process with the male energy and the female energy. And the female energy is actually the manifestation of the creative process, or the creation. That's how everything comes about all around us. Everything that's around us and surrounds us isn't actually surrounding us, it is us. Okay, as it is Wakan Tanka. That's the beauty of, in the simplicity of the connection with the divine. Okay, if you want to call it the divine or the holy, you are already connected. You cannot be not connected, if I said that right. Everything is spiritual. Everything is the spirit. All right? Anything that we look out on, objects around us or whatever, that looks like it's solid, like this desk, okay, isn't solid. It's just an energy fluctuation in slow motion. That's what makes it solid. And then you have things that are energy in flexible motion, like the flame of a candle, or let's say the flowing of water. And whether it's hard or soft, it basically, according to physics, all right, is the quantum physics, let's say, is the way that this is the scientific approach, all right, of how everything works. The Big Bang Theory and the atoms and the molecules, and the thing that makes an object solid is the molecules are packed tighter together, and things that are porous or softer or whatever, the molecules are way far apart. But it doesn't really matter what you call them, atoms, molecules. It's all just energy. It's all just a vibrational energy. A vibration, all right? A sponda, a movement, a tremor. An active force. And this active force is, let's say, okay, for example, the closest thing, I'll give an example here as to how creation works. Let's say you're sitting in a room and you're meditating, and the room is basically a Zen room, not too much on the walls or anything, just pretty blank, pretty quiet, pretty still. You close your eyes and all of a sudden you started imagining, let's say, that you're at the beach. Or let's say that you are imagining a paradise somewhere, tropical paradise with flowing waterfalls and trees and beautiful birds flying around and that type of thing. Well, this is exactly how the creation was put into motion. This immaculate consciousness, or this higher consciousness, is dreaming, all right, in a sense. That's as close as that you're going to get to how creation works. It's dreaming, just like it's imagining. And as it imagines, it creates, all right? And that's what we have all around us. So what we are actually in a sense, is in the middle of somebody's dream. And that would be Wakan Tanka. That would be the Great Spirit, or the spirit that moves in all things. It's basically what it is a projection, a dream. And it's a flexible dream, and it's always moving and changing. And just like when you have dreams at night, or when you're in a meditation, or when you have a lucid dream. So that is the concept that is the simplified concept. I mean, it sounds complex, but it really isn't. It's just, we're being dreamed, all right? And so if we're being dreamed and we're part of that entity's dream, or that spirit's dream, we are that spirit. You see how I make the connection here? We are that dream, or we are, let's say, one of the drops in the ocean of the divine, if you want to put it that way. I've heard it put that way. That's kind of a beautiful concept. Drops in the ocean of the divine, or waves, or ripples. So once you grasp this concept, and let's not forget, this is a very nature-oriented concept too. But it's also a supernature, or a supernatural concept. It goes beyond nature, because nature is just a reflection of the supernature, or the supernatural. So yeah, I think I covered a lot of ground today. I hope people, when they come in, they listen to my words, because they will get a lot of peace out of it, really. When you simplify things, and when you boil it all down to the fact that doesn't matter what's going on in the world around you, if you know these things, and if you know what the real truth is, and that's what we're talking about here, real truth. Belief systems, and that type thing, and once you get into the real truth, and you realize where the adulteration had happened somewhere along the line with the spiritual belief system. And what is a spiritual belief system? Well, it's none other than you buying into something so deeply that it affects your surroundings. It affects your surroundings. So would you rather your surroundings be peaceful and serene, and more nature-oriented? Or would you rather have your surroundings be chaotic and apocalyptic, and religious fanaticism, and divisions, and politics and religion? Politics and religion is the same thing. It's dogmatic. One is based on the other. Political systems are usually based on religious systems. Now, here's one last thing that I want to cover here in this video. I saw today, now we're going to take this into the headlines here of everyday news. The Democratic National Convention released this statement that was unbelievable to me. It was just unbelievable. Now they're trying to co-opt the Native American, or the native indigenous people of this land, by saying that their guidelines that they're going to follow have to do with the First Nation and the Anishinaabe people, which I am part of, and that, you know, they're basing their whole American ideology and their their political agendas and everything, they're linking it up. They're trying to link it up somehow with the First Nations and the tribal people of this land, which is just blasphemy because it's just diametrically opposed. And why is it diametrically opposed? Because of what I just laid out for you. What their ideology is based on ain't the same ideology that Indians' beliefs and spiritual system is based on, so forget it. It's just you know, the brothers and the sisters, they're going to take this totally the wrong way because a lot of them are brainwashed, and they're going to think, oh, they're uplifting us, or they're acknowledging that we were the first people on this land, or whatever. But they're not going to realize that, again, they are being used by the white man. You know? And there will be a lot of people on the reds, just the same ones that are wearing the masks, all right, because of the deep covert medical operation that was perpetrated on everybody, and everybody bought into. Even the people on the res, even the natives have succumbed to the propaganda. So anyway, I guess I'll leave it there because I don't want this video to be too long, and I would appreciate you liking it and subscribing and all that stuff. Helps the algorithms. And also, if you want to donate, see, I don't go through any kind of monetization or thing or Patreon or any of that stuff. I go direct. If you want to contribute to me, you go to spiritofcrazyhorse.com in the show notes below. And you can support this work or this knowledge or this me as a wisdom keeper. If you think that you've heard anything that is valuable, you send me a donation at that site, hit the donate button, and I'll give you a free copy of my books. How's that? In PDF form. One of them is an award-winning book. Where would you get that elsewhere? Where would you get that? Where would you get a freebie for a donation, you know? An exchange, basically, and that's based on Lakota tradition as well. Exchange, bartering, right? I give my time and my effort and my knowledge, and you receive that, and in return, if you feel the urge, you can donate. And you can also on that site join the prayer circle as well. That's free. That's another free thing. The Red Road, walking the Red Road, walking in the Lakota tradition, the Good Road, and in indigenous tradition. So yeah, it's, you know, my website is Spirit of Crazy Horse, not the Spirit, but just spiritofcrazyhorse.com. You can also contact me there. There's email there. I've had a couple of people say, wow, I need to contact you. How do I contact you? And all I got to do is watch the video and look in the show notes and look around, do a little investigation, and you will see how to contact me. So anyway, I'll leave it there today and just say Wopila, which means thank you, or Pilamie, or Aho, it is good, or Hachitowelo. And till next time, till I talk to you next time, adios.